I mean, how many people have we seen come and go as well, too, in this business? You know, this is not an easy business, no matter how you look at it, whether it is rent and hold, whether it is fix and flip, commercial, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, it's can you buy an asset? Can it appreciate in value? Can you pay down that principal? Can you hold on to that? Can you collect the residual income? You know, it's just taking that money slowly over time versus that immediate gratification, which is a lot of what people did for so many years. But now I think that wall has kind of hit a little bit. You know, certainly it's available. Certainly I'm still doing it. I'm sure you're doing a little bit as well too. But residually is where it's at.
Welcome to the Accelerated Investor Podcast with Josh Cantwell. If you love entrepreneurship and investing in real estate, then you are in the right place. Josh is the CEO of Freeland Ventures Real Estate Private Equity and has personally invested in well over 500 properties all across the country. He's also made hundreds of private lender loans and owns over 1,000 units of apartments. Josh is an expert at raising private money for deals, and he prides himself on never having had a boss in his entire adult life. Josh and his team also mentor investors and entrepreneurs from all over the world. He doesn't dream about doing deals. He actually does them, and so do his listeners and students. Now sit back, listen, learn, and accelerate your business, your life, and your investing with the Accelerated Investor Podcast.
So hey, welcome back to the 100th episode of Accelerated Investor. I am really excited to be with all of our listeners and students and clients, borrowers, friends, and family around the world for our 100th episode of Accelerated Investor. To give you a little bit of backdrop, we started podcasting, I think, in 2000. Dude, it was a long time ago. 2013, 2014.
I think the 1900s.
Yeah, 1900s. The Stone Ages, the Ice Ages. We started podcasting, started recording podcasts. It was me, Ramey, and my guest today, Kyle Garifo, who's our head coach and strategic real estate coach and a super successful investor out of, is it Lake of the Hills?
It is Lake in the Hills.
Yeah, Lake of the Hills, Illinois. Kyle Garifo. Kyle, what's up, man? Thanks for jumping on.
Thanks for having me. 100th episode.
100th episode. So I wanted to invite Kyle because we originally started, the three of us, me, Ramey, and Kyle, we started Strategic Real Estate Coach Radio in like 2013-14. And we had awesome guests. We had Michael Blanc when he was like totally new to apartments. We had a bunch of successful investors on. And then it was so awesome that we stopped doing it. We just lost focus and we were focused on other things. And we stopped doing the podcast. And then about a year ago, Ramey and I said, we really got to, podcasting is huge now. We were like 5 years ahead of the podcasting craze back in 2013. And Kyle was interviewing some of our people and I was interviewing them and it was fun, but it was really like, not planned out well. And we really just were kind of ham and egging it, as we like to say. And now we've kind of grown up a little bit, and now there's a lot more competition in the podcasting space. But we relaunched Strategic Real Estate Coach Radio as Accelerated Investor Podcast, and it's been wildly successful. We've had amazing people on, and it's been super fun. And so Kyle and I wanted to hop back on our 100th episode and reminisce a little bit about some of the ups and downs and some of the amazing times we've had with our live events and with our students, and then talk a little bit about some of our most successful students and what are some of the characteristics that they have. So Kyle's been with me since like 2008, 2010 or something like that, right, Kyle? Like your first...
Whatever that event was in Dallas, that was what, 09 maybe, 2008?
Yeah. 2009. It was a short sale event. I think we did that one with REI Club. REIClub.com was a co-sponsor of that event. And primarily at that time, still doing short sales. We were right in the middle of the foreclosure crisis, and short sales and pre-foreclosures were everywhere. And Kyle, so think back to that moment. Like, what was on your mind? What were you thinking, like, about the fears, the challenges of just getting going in your real estate business right in the middle of a foreclosure crisis. And the reason why I ask is because many people think that we might be at the top of a market and a recession is looming. I don't think we're going to have some massive, economic Armageddon like we did in 2007, 8, 9, but some people might be afraid that we're at the top of a market and there might be, a bunch of foreclosures coming in the next year or two. But what was your thought back then, considering you basically quit your job right in the middle of a massive recession, right in the middle of
How smart was that?
Yeah, right. Well, it seems like things worked out pretty good over time. What was on your mind back then, man?
Yeah, as you bring up, I literally quit on a Thursday. I think it was April 21st of 2007, and bought a house on Monday. That's really how it worked for me. That's not a made up story. It truly is the case. I got a little harassment from my people at work. They said, who quits on a Thursday, right? Like normally if you're going to quit, you do it on Friday. I said, no, I quit on Thursday. I need a day off. Right. I bought a house Monday. So that was in 2007 for me, kind of right before everything hit the fan, and I bought my first foreclosure at that point in time. For me, it was about survival. I mean, I know that I was a clinical therapist for 10 years. I just didn't want to do that anymore. The hours sucked. The pay sucked. I just started having kids. Just everything was kind of a culmination of events that just didn't work for me anymore. And again, I'm a product of watching too many shows on HGTV. That's really what it was. Now there's so many more shows on HGTV than it was even back then, but there were flipping shows even then. And I just said, how hard could this be? But I didn't really look at the market. I didn't know enough about the market. I didn't really know what was going on. I wasn't following necessarily the financial world of what was happening on what I do now. And no one predicted what was going to happen in 2008. And if they did, then, there are people, I guess, who did made a lot of money on it. But for me, it was really about survival. It was about what can I do to try to make money. And, that first flip was a nightmare. And I literally made, $1,800, I think, after 7 months of doing it. Yeah. And I did all the work myself and learned how to put in hardwood flooring and cabinets and all that. So it was a great learning experience for me. But it was scary, man. It was scary because I knew then when we had the financial crisis and the housing, bust, I was able to escape, thank God, and sell that house, but literally made no money. I remember bringing that check home to my wife, and I was all happy because I made a check, and she's like,
is this it?
There's a zero missing on the end of that, right? Yeah. What are you talking about? It's $1,800. That's more than I've made in 6 months. So for me, like I said, it was about survival. I just had to figure out what I was going to do. And luckily, 12 years later, I'm still in the business. I'm not employed by anybody, which is great. So,
yeah. I think about when I got started, man, like I just remember feeling so satisfied, not passionate for the financial planning world anymore. Yeah. Prospecting at night and cold calling and getting referrals and getting porched. Getting left on, someone's porch at 10 p.m. in the rain when they no-showed an appointment, and and then thinking I want to do this real estate thing, but I was like, oh, I'm so scared. What if it doesn't work? Back then there was no private money. There was hard money lenders almost didn't exist. There was none of this crowdfunding. There was none of this private placement, PPM stuff. Nobody talked about that. And so I really didn't have any clue how to structure a deal, or find private money. So we had to wholesale. We were looking for REOs online. We're walking through houses, and even when we're walking through houses, I remember thinking even if we make an offer, how the hell are we going to buy this thing? We don't have any money to do it. We don't have any money to get financing. So, luckily we stumbled into short sales and pre-foreclosures, and we could flip houses back-to-back closings in the same day. And wholesale properties through A to B, B to C transaction. We get really good at that and taught that to thousands and thousands of people over the next 10 years. But I think, Kyle, when I think about it, we were talking about this before we got going here with the recording, was there's a couple things about real estate that never change, and then the rest of it seems to always change. Some of the things that don't change is just the concept of people get wealthy buying and holding. Mm-hmm. I think it was T. Harv Eker, one of the guys that had the famous quote that said, you don't wait to buy real estate, you buy real estate and wait. Right. And now, I look at some of the rental properties that I own, and there's so much, a huge portion of the mortgage payment is going towards principal. And I'm seeing the mortgage just, I have a bunch of properties that are paid off, and then I have other properties that are about to be paid off. And I'm thinking, like, the whole plan I put together to put my kids through college, 10 years ago is actually happening. So that concept never changes of buy real estate and wait. Let somebody else pay your mortgage off, create equity, depreciation. And then there's the other concept of everything changes, like, because the economy changes, the cycle changes. Like, we're in an economic recession and everything is in foreclosure. And then all of a sudden these hedge funds come in and they're buying all the real estate and property values are going up. And then interest rates go down, property values go up again, and then interest rates go up, property values go down a little bit. It's just nuts, man. It seems like every 6 months to a year, something is different, but the main concept of buy and hold doesn't ever change. So, I mean, you've been through it all. We've been, side by side in this thing literally for 10 years. First as a student, had a mentor relationship, and then now as our head coach. So, it's nuts, man. What are some of your recollections over the last 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think, how many people have we seen come and go as well, too, in this business? This is not an easy business, no matter how you look at it, whether it is rent and hold, whether it is fix and flip, commercial, whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, it's can you buy an asset? Can it appreciate in value? Can you pay down that principal? Can you hold on to that? Can you collect the residual income? It's just taking that money slowly over time versus that immediate gratification, which is a lot of what people did for so many years. But now I think that wall has kind of hit a little bit. Certainly it's available. Certainly I'm still doing it. I'm sure you're doing a little bit as well too. But residually is where it's at. Look, I don't want to work that hard. I just don't. I want to work hard now so I don't have to work that hard later on. I don't want to be the guy at Walmart who's 75 years old still working as a greeter because he has to. He has to. Those guys don't want to be there. Nobody does. So I think that I'm blown away that people who don't look at real estate as an investment and who throw all their money in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever it is, and then take that roller coaster ride with people. And, how much control over Apple stock do you have? Well, I own it. And it's funny. I have a son who's 13. He's taken a college and career course right now or whatnot, and they're tasked with like looking at stocks and all their seller stuff. And he asked me, he said, "Dad, like, what do you own stock wise?" And I go, "Honestly, I don't own any. I don't own any stocks." So, "What do you have to own stocks? Like my teacher said." I'm like, "Well, that's fine."
My teacher said, right?
Yeah, exactly right. I'm like, "Well, that's why your teacher's doing what your teacher does, and we all need teachers." And we went into the whole discussion and all this stuff and how it works. And now he's big on a Chick-fil-A. He wants to open up a Chick-fil-A.
Like, nice.
Like, that's his biggest thing. I'm like, all right, that's cool if you want to do that.
Love Chick-fil-A.
I said, do some research on it. Do some research. What does it cost to open a Chick-fil-A? What are you paying residually to Chick-fil-A headquarters? And he didn't understand how any of that stuff worked. But I like his mentality of what he's already thinking, because I told my kids, I have a daughter who's almost 16 years old now, that whatever you do, you've got to do something for yourself as well too. If you want to be a school teacher, whatever it is, that's fine. But you've got to have an alternate plan as well too that's going to make you that residual income, because nobody wants to teach for 30, 40 years. They just don't make that much money. And I know it's not all about money. It's about job satisfaction and whatnot. But I've always been happier when I make more money, and I don't care who you are. Money doesn't at least buy you some happiness, then you're buying the wrong things. That's what I always say, right?
That's right.
It does. It just makes things a lot easier. So trying to position them to be smart with their money, how to invest with their money, throwing it in stocks is not necessarily the way to go, despite the fact that's what 98% of the people do. So I'm just blown away that people don't do as much research into looking at real estate. How does it work? Even owning a single family home and letting that appreciate in value, depreciation, principal pay down, all the tax breaks that you get from that.
Right.
So, it's interesting to have this conversation now with them, certainly. So
yeah, and in a recession, what'll be interesting is when we hit a recession or things slow down a little bit, there'll be more foreclosures, more divorces, more bankruptcies, people losing jobs, and guess what? They'll all have to move to apartments, or they'll have to move towards renting, and then those rent rates go up. That's one of the characteristics that's happened over the last 3. We did a great podcast with Rob Swanson, the CEO at FreedomSoft, and so check that episode out. We talked about the characteristics of housing crashes, and one of them is that there's a presidential transition. Well, guess what year we're in right now? Potential presidential transition, fiscal policy change. Again, guess what happens if a Democrat's elected versus a Republican? Again, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. Presidential transition means there's going to be fiscal policy change, and so that will happen. And when there's if there's a recession or a housing bust, then you're going to have a situation where people move to rentals, they move to single family rentals or duplexes, or they move to apartments, and then rent rates go up. So it doesn't really matter that real estate is right now has appreciated a lot, and in some cases might be overvalued. As long as that property cash flows and there's cash flow coming in, it doesn't matter, because you're not going to sell that asset. The goal with real estate is buy it and hold it forever. That you're not going to sell that asset, so you don't have to worry about whether the value of the home or the apartment or whatever, the assisted living facility, the self-storage facility, wherever you're buying, goes up or down. What you worry about is the cash flow that comes from it, like a bond, right? A bond could go up or down in face value, but the coupon stays the same. It's the same with real estate. My only regret, Kyle, is, we flipped tons of properties. We did 400 or 500 short sales, 300 or so flips. And at the end of the day, my only regret is that I didn't keep them all.
You hold on to him, yeah.
I held a bunch of them, and we have a bunch of equity. We have $10 million in apartments, of my money and our investors' money in apartments. But looking back, I wouldn't say it's a great regret, because we've had a great, we've made a great living. We've provided for many, many, many people and our families. But to think, like, if I had just bought and kept them all, would be even a different story today. They all had their purpose along the way. But I don't know about you, if you feel the same way. What are your thoughts looking back?
Yeah. I wish I would have started earlier in life too. If I would have started this at 22, or I love seeing these 18-year-old kids that are seniors in high school buying their first rental property, which is unbelievable. I wish somebody would have taught me that. And, I don't fault anybody for doing that, but I wish I would have started earlier. I wish I would have started the residual income model much earlier, rather than, work to, and get paid, work to get paid, work to get paid, and that's really what's taught in school now is, we work to go get a good job, to work for somebody to work for the next 30 years. I mean, it sounds awful to me. It really does. But yeah, that's my biggest regret, is I didn't start earlier. I wish I would have started earlier. I wish I would have come out of college and at least, whether I was doing clinical psychology or not, just start buying some properties, rental properties, hold on them. Those would have been paid off by now, things like that. So, but I'm still, young enough. You and I are the same age, so I think we, have some time still to get this done, which is good. But I wish I would have started 20 years ago on this. So,
the thing I think that we also got right is the focus, especially the last 5 to 8 years or so, on private money, because now we have access to so much of it, and money is definitely more abundant in the system. There's a lot of investors that have access to a lot more private money. But when I say private money, what many people say is, I have access to private lenders. And they talk about their private lenders, but their private lenders are companies.
Right. That's not a private lender.
Like Lending Home, or, even Freeland Lending, or these other companies. That's an institutional or a corporate private lender. If the market were to go into a recession, or the housing crash, if there's a housing crash, a lot of those companies will go away. Like they won't make it. And so true private lenders, who are basically individuals, mom and pops, retired people, both accredited and non-accredited, that have, between, let's say, $50,000 to $1 million to invest. We've got relationships, you and I both, with hundreds of those types of people, and they trust us with their money. They're individuals that are investing in our deals through private placement memorandums, 506B, 506C type stuff. And when I look at the next crash or the next recession, that's going to be a huge buying opportunity. And I'm not going to need any bank financing. I'm not going to need any corporate or institutional private lenders. They're all sitting there waiting, and I'm waiting for a buying opportunity to go buy a whole bunch of stuff, and then just buy it, stabilize it, and then refinance into long-term financing and cash flowing all of it. So when I look back, there's definitely some things I would change, but that part of what we've done, it's like if there's two main things you got to get right, two main levers, is finding deals and finding money. Like, I feel like the finding money part, like we've kind of checked that off the list. We've just kind of solved that. Really, like, forever. Like, I don't really need to raise another nickel of private money unless I did like a $200 million deal. But, got that right. So now it's just all about finding deals. So your focus too has very much followed my path of recruiting and raising private money, and there's so many people that haven't had that licked. Like, doesn't it give you a sense of confidence knowing that you didn't do every deal the right way? Every deal, most of them made money, but there's been deals that haven't. But you have relationships with these investors that love you, that love what you're doing, and want to continue to invest with you.
Yeah. No, I just had a deal that did not go according to plan. Just took way too long to sell. It did not go what I would say as a great deal by any means. But all those guys have come back to invest with me because they've made money with me before. And I like to say they don't make money off me. They don't, they make money with me. As I make money, they make money. I didn't make money on this deal. Those guys still made money, which is fine. And they still come back and trust me and invest with me because, they trust us. People invest in people at the end of the day. They would rather invest, I think, in somebody that they can, go visit, sit down, have coffee with, go see the property if they want to go see it. So those are the relationships that I have. Actually, I had a guy that I just met with last week. He's a dentist and he's invested. He's probably got $500,000 of money. And I've talked to him on the phone and he only lives about an hour away from me, but he's talked to me on the phone, nonstop. And finally I said, you know what, I'm going to come out there and just sit down with you face to face. We've had so many conversations now. And he really appreciated that. He really appreciated just the personal interaction that I had with him. On sit down with him, and we just kind of hung out for an hour, and he showed me in his dental practice all his cool gadgets, and this costs this cost. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about, but that's cool. Like, I can see how you can afford all this stuff because, clearly he's investing $500,000 with me. But it's those kind of relationships that I really like to have with people because then when, what we learned from Kevin O'Leary, right, when he spoke is that investors deserve the good and the bad. And not everything is all peachy keen all the time. It just isn't. It just isn't. And if you have deals that go smooth 100% of the time, I think you're telling a big fat lie because it just does not happen.
Right.
I've got a deal in the city going right now. We're 18 months in and we're still not even done yet. And we're, a year behind schedule and there's reasons behind it. But I tell my investors, like, look, this is why where we're at. This is where it is at. This is where we think we can still sell this. And they're okay with that. They're okay as long as they know that I'm not driving a new BMW in Hawaii. They're all right. So
the money didn't disappear to Bermuda, no doubt. Are you ready to automate and explode your real estate investing? We're searching for extremely motivated individuals who are sick and tired of wasting time and want to finally see real results from their real estate investing business. We're searching for investors looking to get to the next level and become a bigger, better version of themselves while being a more successful real estate investing entrepreneur. Apply for mentoring and coaching at joshcantwellcoaching.com/podcast. That's joshcantwellcoaching.com/podcast. Yeah, it's interesting to see the evolution, and now if there is, more buying opportunities, that's really where you buying these properties. Let's say blood in the streets, as Warren Buffett would say, and go on a buying spree. That's something I'm looking forward to. I'll be buying anyway because we're buying for cash flow now. We'll continue to buy, but when there's blood in the streets, we'll buy stuff at even deeper discounts, and then we'll just hold on to it for the long term for sure. Mm-hmm. So, Kyle, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen? I'm curious your thoughts. Like, there's so many people in real estate who are very much loose cannons about it, like buying the wrong properties, not doing the proper evaluation, buying stuff with very expensive money. What do you think is going to happen with all of them if there is a correction or if there is a recession? And how would you help, kind of advise people what things would you advise them on to make sure that they don't get caught or make a mistake? Yeah, because I think there's going to be thousands of those people who get caught and get handcuffed by that correction, whatever it may be, how big it's going to be. Because I don't really buy anything out in the burbs here anymore at all. Like, none of my flips. I have one, I think, going on right now. It was a referral from a friend of mine, so it's not like I bought it online. It wasn't even marketed, so I was able to get it at the good price. But I almost can't buy anything anymore because what people are willing to pay for these properties is ridiculous, and it's all speculation that, maybe if I can cut costs here, if I can do the cabinets myself and all that stuff. And yeah, you may be successful 3 out of 10 times, 4 out of 10 times, but you're going to get caught, you're going to get burned, you're going to get something. And as we correct, you're going to get stuck either holding these properties or borrowing too expensive money. Like you said, now they're over leveraged. Now, the guy, he wants his money back. He's calling the note due. It's going to be a mess, which is why I kind of got out of my traditional flip model in the suburbs, which I did for so long. I don't do that anymore because of these people coming out of the woodwork and way overpaying for property. So, my advice to them, I think, is just you have to go
and find leads in alternate sources. It cannot just be taking things off the MLS or competing against people or even auctions. I mean, auctions are auctions for a reason. Why is eBay so successful? Because you're like, ooh, I gotta have it. All of a sudden you're overpaying and you're like, oh crap, I didn't really want to have it at that price,
Right.
You're not backing out anymore. So now you own this property. Get educated, network with people. Anytime you raise private money, I think anytime we raise money, it opens us up to doors to investment opportunities that we never thought we would have. At the end of the day, you're in the marketing business. You're marketing yourself. You're marketing your ability to make money for other investors. You're marketing your ability to real estate agents that I can take properties off your hands. I mean, you are a marketing company. What I always tell, our students is if you have a bakery and your bakery is in like a dark alleyway, but you have the best donuts ever, no one's going to find you, right? No one's going to find you. No one's going to smell your donuts per se and just come walking down that alleyway. You've got to be able to so do I. Got to market yourself. You got to put yourself out there. What are you trying to promote? What do you have to offer that nobody else does, or that's different than somebody else does? And just getting in that mindset of you're a marketing machine. You're not a real estate investor. You're not a flipper. You're not any of that stuff. I have a unique skill set that I'm able to provide people, and that there's various people that you provide to: realtors, private lenders, all homeowners, lots of different things that you can provide to people. So
yeah, no doubt. That's a great point, man. Yeah, you got to be a marketing machine in your business in order to get all those different kinds of things. This is one of the reasons why I do the podcast. Podcast is an opportunity for me and Ramey to just sit down and record and talk to people like you, talk to other borrowers, clients, students, other entrepreneurs, learn from them, cast a vision for who we are, create content, and then put it out to the world. And it really starts with our marketing machine starts with this podcast. And then this turns into blog posts and social media posts and YouTube videos. It's really amazing that we can just get on and have this conversation and create content that turns into everything for us: loans, private lenders, deals. It's amazing, but it starts right here at this desk every other Friday, right, Ramey? Every other Friday. That's right. So cool, Kyle. So students, let's talk about students. You've been coaching our students at Strategic Real Estate Coach all the way back to, about 2014, 2015, 2016. You earned the title of our head coach, and we've had multiple other coaches working underneath you. You've kind of formed that up in the training curriculum, and teaching strategies behind finding deals, wholesaling, finding private money. If you look back at some of our most successful students, and then the ones that didn't follow the system, the ones that kind of went off the reservation, what do you think are some of the characteristics of the people who've done it right? What are you think that they did well?
First and foremost, I think the people that have been successful are go-getters. They don't take no for an answer. They will go. And you're going to hear no, because you're going to hear lots of no's. You're going to hear lots of no's. No, you're out of your mind. No, I would never sell it to you at that price. No, I'm not going to give you an ounce of private money. You're going to hear that all the time from people in this business. And if you get your feelings hurt because you hear a couple no's, then this is not going to be for you. So I think our students that have been successful are go-getters that just say, okay, that's fine. Another no is just one step closer to a yes. It's kind of, the way we always talk about it. I think people that have listened to us as well too, and taken advantage of what you certainly provide, all the content. I'm blown away with, I do calls every 2 weeks, and I come back 2 weeks later. I'm like, hey, what have you done? How many offers you make? I was on vacation for a week. I didn't really get a whole lot done. I looked at a couple houses, and what do you expect is going to change? At the end of the day, this is your life. It's not mine. I don't want to say I don't care, because I do care, but I care when people are successful and are working hard. I don't care if people are not willing to put in the time, because this is work. This is hard work to do what we do. None of us were handed anything. We didn't get money Donald Trump style, where dad gave us a ton of money and we were able to roll it into things. So, go-getters, being able to listen. And I just think, again, growing, expanding, adjusting to the market, changing up strategies. What are you going to do? Marketing strategies. This doesn't work anymore. Now I'm going to go on to this. Our postcard's still working for me. Are people knocking on doors? Just really willing to work hard, which I think 95% of the people in this business don't want to do. They don't want to work hard. They want to do it what like Tarek and Christina do on Flip or Flop. It's that easy to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, they get these properties, they renovate them, they go $50,000 over budget and only make 80 grand each property, right? That's what happens every episode. It just does. But what they don't show on the back end is that how many people do they have looking for deals, scouting for deals? How much money are they spending on marketing? How many deals are they going through that aren't deals? That's really the backbone of their business. That's why they're successful. It's not as easy as it looks on HGTV. So it's just people that are willing to work, go after things, grow and expand, adjust, modify, mold themselves, change that mold. Those have been, you can think back and you can name names of people that have been successful in this business. So.
No doubt. I would say, just to add on to some things, I would say, the best and most successful students we've had are people that follow the numbers too. Like they don't get overly emotional about a property.
Right.
And when the numbers don't make sense, they're willing to walk away. And I think that's part of the problem with some new investors with an expanding economy and things doing really well, is they'll be like, I know I'm supposed to be all in at, let's say, 65 to 70 cents on the dollar, but I'm going to buy this one and I need to put a little bit more money into it. I just really want this deal. I'm going to be all in at 79 cents on the dollar. And then I'm going to hope during the construction phase that the property values go up and they'll create some additional profit. I'm going to kind of break my rules because there's more competition. And I think that's where, one, investors that have been successful have stuck with the rule, be all in at 65 to 70 cents on the dollar or less. And the investors that have gotten burned are people that have bought properties, bought them too high, didn't pay attention to the numbers. We told them not to do the deal. They did it anyway. And then 6 months later, they're like, yeah, Kyle, yep, Josh, I should have never done that deal. I'm like, I told you. But they got either lazy with their marketing or they got emotionally involved in a deal that they didn't want to let go. Right. And because they didn't have enough opportunity, then they became married to a deal that they should have never done. And so bad combination, right? So that's the combination between like the people who've done it right and the people who got it wrong. That's a big part of it. Yep. The other thing too is I think you got to have a way to make money now. Like, so when Kyle got started, when I got started, you got to have a way to almost make like transactional income to pivot away from your day job into real estate. We've done other podcasts with other guests that have said the same thing. Like, if you're going to leave your job making 150 grand, 250 grand, you have a certain lifestyle that you've built. You've got to be able to pay for that. So whether it's wholesaling, whether it's flipping, whether it's being a realtor or a loan officer, there's all these ways to make transactional income to pay the bills, the mortgage and the cars and the kids, high school education, whatever it is. And so that way you have enough income that you're comfortable. And so you can then buy properties to hold for the long term. Buy apartment buildings, single family rentals. Kyle's developed a couple residential assisted living facilities. I own apartments, so does Kyle. So we've made all those investments for the long term. So you got to have a way to make money in the short term. You got to have a way to buy properties for the long term. You got to have both. And so if you're only buying for the long term, that's awesome. But how are you going to pay your bills today? Right. And then you also can't fall in love with just doing flip after flip after flip after flip after wholesale deal or being a realtor and not hold anything, because then you're making income for today, but you've also now got to pay Uncle Sam his portion, and you're not investing for the long term. So a lot of our successful students have followed our systems to do both. They're maybe wholesaling, or they're a realtor, or they're flipping for income today and then holding. Maybe they flip one and hold three, or flip two and hold two. And they have both. And then 5, 6, 7, 8 years later, like, wow, I have this huge portfolio of properties that's now paying me every single month, right? Yeah. There's nothing sexy really about buying a duplex that pays you $400 a month.
Nope.
But 10 years from now, right, that thing's paying you $400 a month, and now you have $80,000 or $100,000 worth of equity, or $200,000 worth of equity. That's amazing, right? So those are some characteristics that I see as well.
Right.
Kyle, I'm curious to think, what about the future? Like, for you and for students that you coach, investors that you meet with and talk with in your local market, what does that look like for you and for them over the next 1 to 2 years, considering that the market could be at the top here? And then what do you see like your long-term future for you and for students like over the next 10 to 20 years? Like getting to a certain number of units and then stopping, like own a certain number of units and say, that's cool, I'm done. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for student wise, I think, I think you can get to a certain point where you have enough units and you are comfortable. You said, okay, this pays my bills. This is enough for me. I mean, your idea of what you need to pay your bills and support your lifestyle might not be the same as mine. It might not be the same as somebody else's. So there's no fixed number that say, hey, you got to get to X number of units, make X number of money a year in order to do that. But as we're learning from, Tim Bratz, guys like that, and you and whatnot, like if you dive into it, buying residual cash flowing properties like apartments, and even start somewhere small. That's where I'm talking to a lot of my students is go buy a 12 unit, go buy a 20 unit. There's no difference between buying a 20 unit than there is a 6 unit. There really isn't. All right. It's just a couple more units, a couple more doors, but it's all under one roof because I have students that are hesitant, like, oh, I want to buy a 4 unit. How about buying a 20 unit instead? Oh, I can't do that. Why not? Yeah. I mean, the concept is the same. Whether you're going to self-manage, which I don't recommend, I always recommend having a management company in place. So I think just jumping into that, even like the next 2 years, like you're saying, go buy something, go buy a smaller apartment building, go buy it at the right price. It's a little bit different of analysis than it is, buying a single family home to flip. But at the end of the day, it's cash flow in. What are we going to make at the end of the day? Right. Does this cover my debt? Does this put money in my pocket? Does it put money in my investor's pocket? Is this asset going to appreciate? Are there tax breaks? Is it going to depreciate? Of course it is, and that's what the beauty of owning, real estate, particularly commercial real estate as well, that's going to depreciate. It's going to appreciate in value as well too. So the next 2 years is, I'm trying to encourage people to buy, get out of necessarily the fix and flip, nonstop, transactional. I'm not going to make a dime until I flip another property, because I live that life. You live that life. It's no fun when you're waiting to get paid, right. And you're like, oh man, I've got a ton of properties of rehabs and condo developments that I have coming, and I'm going to have a great 2020, but I'm still waiting for those to happen. Nothing has sold yet. I just sold, actually I got 200 contract on Saturday, ironically. So that's good news. So we'll get paid from those, but the residual and the passive income is really what I'm all about as well too. And for me, it's really the assisted living, like you mentioned as well. So we're setting ourselves up long term to be doing this, and we're super excited about it because we know in the next 10 years, people are still going to have a place to go at 85 years old. We're at the beginning of the baby boomer generation for us, so we are right at the forefront of this. Really becoming a huge market. Even apartments. I just read an article today before I came down here in the Chicago Tribune. They are building so many apartments now, and rents are going to go up and up and up because people need a place to go. Right. Partly because of what's happening in the market a little bit, that we are kind of seeing a little bit of a turn and whatnot. So their fear is that these apartments are going to get pricier and pricier and pricier. Well, wouldn't you like to be the owner of that units are getting pricier and pricier and pricier versus the guy renting it out? So the 10-year plan, I think, is this: you got to dive in, bite off a year or two plan chunk, start buying some 12 units, 20 units, then work your way up to a 40 unit, work your way up from there, start doing things like that. That is not transactional. It's that residual, it's that passive, it's that long-term that's going to set you up. And you can still do then fix and flips if you want. I still do. I don't think I'll ever stop doing fix and flips because I like doing them. Right. They're fun to do, but I don't want to rely on them solely as income because they are transactional. So that's sort of my strategy for the next, 10 years, certainly is developing my passive income strategy, which I am, but continue to do all my condo developments and flips and things like that. So
my newest and most powerful real estate investing book, The Flip System, is now available. And for a limited time, you can grab your free copy at getflipsystem.com/podcast. Using the same proven principles, secrets, and investing strategies I'm sharing in this book, I've been able to personally close over 750 highly profitable real estate deals over the last 15 years, make over 400 private lender loans, raise over $30 million of private money, and acquire over 2,000 units of apartments. Get my newest book now for free for a limited time at getflipsystem.com/podcast. That's getflipsystem.com/podcast. So, hey, Kyle, as we kind of round third here and head for home, kind of wrap up the podcast, I'm sure there's a lot of people that listen to this that'll want to reach out to you, connect with you, maybe joint venture with you, become a private lender, maybe wholesale deals to you in your market. So if anybody wanted to reach out and connect with you, what's maybe your website, your phone number, email, what is a good place for people to reach out and connect?
I would just say probably email me is the best thing. So you can reach me at Kyle, Kyle, at azhsllc.com. So A as in Apple, Z as in Zebra, H as in Henry, S as in Sam, LLC.com. That's the best way. You can find me on Facebook. You can send me a message there if you want, but I'm more than willing to have conversations with people. I'm certainly approachable. So yeah, just get a hold of me about anything. So.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I think the last thing I want to kind of convey on this particular episode is, we have this exercise that we've been teaching for years called the Acer Exercise. Acer stands for absolute clarity of the end result. And I think what you mentioned, Kyle, is really you got to know what you want. You got to know what you want to accomplish, how much income that is right for you. Right? For your family, for whatever is important to you. For some people, $50,000 a year in passive income is great. I've got other friends and students of mine that want to own 20,000 units. Other guys that have said, I want to make $500,000 per month in passive income or $250,000 a year. Whatever's good for you is good for you. I don't think we need to compare ourselves to the neighbors, compare ourselves to the Joneses. Whatever's good for you and your family is good for you. And that really, I look back at our entire apartment portfolio. One of the things I keep looking at is what do we make per month or per year per door? And I know the number. It's $1,309 per year of net free cash flow. After all debt service, after all expenses, after everything, it's $1,309 per year per door. Okay? And that allows me to engineer and say, well, based on that cash flow per unit, per door of net free cash flow, based on the current debt service that we have on the buildings, it's going to provide us X amount of income. And if you take that certain amount and say, well, this is how much income it creates today, how much income do I want to get to? That's what you're really working towards. Right. And then it's just about finding the deals and finding the money to get there. Right. And that's it. And I'm sure once you get there, you're going to say, well, that's awesome. Maybe celebrate for like 5 minutes, and then it's on to the next goal.
Another one. Let's go.
Yeah. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs I know, it's like, okay, I've accomplished that, and I'm already ready to go. Kevin O'Leary, when he spoke on our stage and on our podcast, he said, when they sold SoftySoft, which was their software development company, and they sold it for $4 billion, it was like 11 guys sitting around in a boardroom that all were immediately like life-changingly rich. They looked around and they said, well, what the hell do we do next? Like, what do we do with ourselves on Monday? And that's typical for an entrepreneur. It's okay to say, okay, I'm going to take a step back. I had a friend of mine, his name is Mark, who just sold a company for $50 million. And he's been traveling all summer. I see him on Facebook. He's traveling. And he says, look, when I'm done with all this traveling, my family is young, my wife is young, my parents are young, everybody's young, we can do this. I'm going to get sick of this, and I'm going to want to jump into the next thing. So the question is what is the absolute clear thing that you want to accomplish right now with your real estate? Then it goes on to go find the deals, go find the money to make that happen, right? That's what it's all about. So Kyle, as we kind of wrap up here, any final thoughts on your kind of journey or your student's journey over the last 10 years or so, and kind of take it home here on our 100th episode?
Yeah, I think my journey and our students' journey is relatively the same. And obviously I started off as a student as well too. And I think anybody who's successful, particularly in this business, I think the journey is relatively similar. I mean, you have to be willing to put yourself out there. This is definitely a people business. If you don't like people, it's gonna be tough to do this business because there's a lot of relationships and talking and trust. There's a ton of trust in this business as well too. I was just meeting with a guy yesterday. I had dinner with him and talking about a potential investment we have, and he was asking a ton of great questions. And at the end, I said, Jim, I understand all your questions are great questions. There's still a level of trust at the end of this. There's still a level that you have to trust me of what I'm going to do. I get that there's risk, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you there's no risk, but there's still a level of trust that you have to put in me in order to guide us to where I'm telling you I think we're going to go. So, be afraid to step out of your comfort level, your box, whatever it may be. I think that's our greatest challenge for all of our students. It was certainly my greatest challenge of what I had, to do this business as well too, because like I said, Kellen said, it's not easy. This business is not easy to do, but the more people we know, the more relationships we have. It's just unbelievable. I mean, look, I just met one of my partners in a new business that we're doing, just sold his, or let me rephrase it, he started a marijuana company 4 years ago, okay? When it was, now in Illinois, it's all legal as of January 1. So he just got an offer to buy his company for $850 million. He's 38 years old. Yeah, so he and I are now in business. We're doing some things now, but do you think he's got some people I could possibly talk to? Do you think he might be somebody? But this guy works harder than anybody I've ever met, and he still does, like you were just talking about before. Why would he just not sell, okay, move to Tahiti and I'm good? He's working harder now than he ever has before. Even though he's worth $850 million on the company that he started 4 years ago. It's crazy, but it's like, that's the mindset you want to surround yourself with people with. I don't know anybody rich. How many times do you hear that? Okay, go put yourself in a position that you're hanging out with people that have that sort of lifestyle you want, or that mentality that you have. If you hang out with downers all day long, that's what you get. You're kind of a product of who you surround yourself with in your environment. And that's not to say that all your friends have to be millionaires by any means, but I want to associate with people who inspire me and challenge me and want me to do more things and not be complacent, because I think that's the number one problem in this business is you get complacent. You might make a little bit of money, but then you're like, all right, that was fun. But then you forget your marketing, and all of a sudden you don't have any more deal flow anymore, and you're kind of back to where you were before. So it's a fun journey. It's work, man. It's a lot of work. Yes. And it will continue to be work. I don't think this business is ever going to get easier by any means. So
it's interesting, as we talk about that, I think about the apartment building that I just bought with Jack Petrick about maybe 8 months ago. It was 164 units. It was a $9.2 million purchase. And the guy that we bought it from, his name was Leon, was like 76 years old, still on the apartments, still on the site every day. His daughter was the primary property manager and the primary leasing agent. And he said he was finally ready to kind of slow down and sell the buildings and retire and move to Fort Myers. And when I saw the HUD one, the transaction, and he only owed like $3 million on the buildings, walked away with $6 million check.
Yeah. And
but I think the lesson there is, it's not like the guy was, like you said, in Tahiti, although he probably could have been. He had $6 million net worth and lots of cash flow every single month. He was at the job site every day, providing great units and doing his unit turnovers and talking to his property managers, because he just enjoyed what he was doing. He enjoyed the fight, or enjoyed the progress, if you will. He enjoyed feeling like he was contributing. And I think those are characteristics that you can't take away from an entrepreneur. The feeling of, even at 76 years old, I'm making progress, or I'm contributing back, or I'm giving back, I'm making progress, I have a reason to get up every day. Because look, I love my wife and kids, but they don't want to see me every day, all day. And I don't want to see them every day, all day. We don't want to sit on a beach every day, all day. All of those things get boring. All of those things will wear out. Everybody needs some variety. It's one of the great gifts when we were born God gave us, was the need for security of a routine, but also the need for variety and excitement. And that's what this business, I think, can give us.
And feeling that, and feeling like, hey, I accomplished something. That's what drives us as well too. I will never sit on a beach all day long. That's not really what, like you said, entrepreneurs, I think, have a different mindset, and different than a 9-to-5 worker. We certainly need 9-to-5 workers. There's plenty of jobs out there, but for me and for you and for other entrepreneurs, it's more about just that task and getting to that end goal, and then enjoying it for 5 minutes, and then going there and doing it again. That's really what's
right. Right. Yeah. It's about the freedom to be able to take the time. It's not necessarily that we want to always take the time, but it's the privilege of being able to say, I don't want to work today. I don't want to work tomorrow. I want to go on vacation for a month. And you can do it with real estate. It's amazing. Kyle, thanks so much for hopping on, man. Episode number 100. Give me a virtual high five. Awesome, man. Ramey, good job as well behind the camera. Appreciate you guys being here. Well, there you have it. Accelerated Investor episode number 100. If you enjoyed it, please share it on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere that you can. If you are and have the time, please do leave us a rating, leave us a review. Let us know how we've done over our first, I should say almost our second segment of 100 episodes, because we've done, this is like 250 actually, but 100 episodes of the Accelerated Investor podcast. Kyle, thanks so much for joining us. For all of you that are out listening, sharing, we appreciate being part of your life, part of your entrepreneurial journey, part of your real estate mentoring team. Thank you so much for being here. Take care.
You've been listening to Josh Cantwell and the Accelerated Investor Podcast. Leave a comment on our iTunes channel and let us know what you want to learn next or who you'd like Josh to interview. While you're there, give us a 5-star rating and make sure to subscribe so you can be the first to hear new episodes. Follow Josh Cantwell and his companies, Strategic Real Estate Coach and Freeland Ventures, on all social media platforms now, and stay up to date on new training and investment opportunities. To start your journey toward the lifestyle you've always dreamed of, apply for coaching at joshcantwellcoaching.com.